Hello, Triple F fans. Summer is upon us. Everybody's planning a trip. Everybody wants to go on vacation. It can be the most marvelous thing in the world, but if you're overseas, sometimes it can turn sour very quickly. Today, we're going to talk about what you need to know, preparation you need to make, things you need to watch out for security-wise when you travel overseas with money, credit cards, and just all the financial decisions you have to make. There's a whole lot to it, and it can go south very quickly. We're going to talk about it next on Triple F.
Hey, what's up, Triple F family? We are back with my guy, the dude. Glad to be here.
The money man. I'm jacked. Yeah, man. We're back. We're back in more ways than one, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're back, man. We were gone for a couple of weeks there with vacations and sicknesses, and we talked about that on the last video, man. But we're all healthy now. We're kind of back. He's what he calls tan. I'm thinking he's using too much SPF because I don't see a lot of tan lines going on. But he says he just didn't have any clothes on, so everything got tan.
Well, I mean, there's no tan lines for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But I also did use quite a bit of sunscreens. I did not want to get sunburned. There's nothing worse.
It's part of your health journey.
Yeah. You know, you get older, you got to take care of yourself.
Yep.
The podcast was on.
If not, you wind up with all these brown spots on you like I got. So. Yeah, I don't use SPF.
I'm starting to rack them up. So, but okay, and we sold the clubs. That's done. So I'm also a little bit lighter as far as the stress levels.
You're kind of setting off to an angle. Does that mean you got a lot of money in your pocket now that you sold your clubs? You got your wallet's a lot bigger.
You want to know something interesting about that? Can I tell you something fascinating about, selling a club? Is that now that, that we sold the club, right? Of course, there's a kind of a little nest egg there and everything. But now I'm like now that I don't have the clubs to like manage the budget, guess what I manage now on a daily basis?
Your budget.
Yeah, my home budget, like every day. And so now I'm like stressing about my wife going and ordering Amazon and Walmart.
Well, this podcast station is just for you because if you go back and look at the videos we've had, you've actually learned something.
It's converted me.
It's converted you, man.
But now I'm really stressed about like how much money do I make, and how much does my wife make, and are we making enough to make ends meet? Meanwhile, there's this pile of, let's say, cash over here that's just sitting there that now we've got to figure out what to do with it.
Yep.
And the cool thing is now we can use the podcast and everything that we've learned here to say, hey, let's see how we can put those little dollar bills to work for us.
That's it, man.
But right now, at the moment, I'm sitting here stressing about whether or not we can make ends meet.
As you went on one of the most expensive vacations you can possibly go on.
Right, Hawaii is super it's crazy expensive. Man, that's like once every decade or 2 decades type of a trip.
Well, today's going to go right into travel. I'm going to talk a little bit. I've taken some trips over the last few years. I didn't do a lot of traveling before I retired. And so once I retired about 10 years ago, my wife and I started traveling quite a bit. And I've learned so much, man. I mean, it's like you start and you go to another country and you're thinking language is going to be a problem. You think of all these issues, and language really winds up not being that big of a problem because most people speak English. Most of these countries. Have you done much traveling?
Yeah, I mean,
like international travel?
Yeah, internationally, all over Europe, Middle East, Southeast Asia, Latin America.
So you're going to know a lot about what I'm talking about today. So you'll be able to like come into it, But one of the first things when I started traveling, I wasn't thinking of is finances. When you land, you're in a whole different financial
Not if
system.
You're like on the bill of the company, then you don't.
Yeah. And so and you're thinking, well, I got a credit card, everything's solved, but not really. So today I'm gonna just share some things I've learned, some things I've researched and learned things you probably know. And if you're a big traveler out there, you already know all this stuff. But this is really for those as we get into the summer now. People are starting to travel more. If you haven't traveled much, or if you haven't traveled over the last few years, other than the fact that there's a lot of new entry requirements into like the European Union and UK, and they have all these entry exit systems, which really slows up all of the passport stuff and all of the stuff you have to go through there just to get into the country. I mean, they have all these new systems, and it is very slow and cumbersome. Plus all the travel strikes. I mean, I could go on and on about the problems right now traveling internationally, but we're going to talk to you a little bit about money. It's so important, and especially when you travel, to kind of know the ins and outs of money. And so we're going to kind of break it up into 3 different areas. Kind of what do you need to do before you leave?
Mhm.
How do you prepare? Spending and banking abroad while you're in country overseas. And then when you're there and you're actually enjoying yourself, some safety and security issues that you
Mhm.
that you may run across. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And we're going to kind of start with, as you plan a trip, you
Mhm.
spend all this time planning where you're going to go, how you're going to get around and what have you. You really need to start thinking about, before you even leave, what are you going to do banking wise? What are you going to do money
Uh-huh.
wise? And so before you leave, you want to do a lot, you're going to want to do some research, but you really want to probably contact your banks. And some banks require you to notify them if you're going to go overseas and some
Mhm.
don't. I have
Mhm.
a credit union that wants to know when I'm going somewhere. I have a major bank that doesn't really, I don't have to let them know. Because what happens if you get overseas, here you are spending locally, and then suddenly the next day you're spending over in a foreign country. It's going to flag those transactions with your credit card companies and with your banks, and they're going to possibly freeze your card and freeze the charges and not accept them, thinking that it's some type of fraud. And so it's good to let them know if they require that you're going to be out of country and you're going to be overseas and you're going to be spending money in a foreign country. The other thing you want to do is you want to select the right card.
Mhm.
This is something I'd never really thought about, but there's a lot of cards, credit cards that charge foreign transaction fees. Every time you spend money, they charge you a fee. And a lot of that are these cash back or $0 annual fee cards. They charge a lot of fees. If you have a travel branded card like a United Explorer card or American Airlines card or whatever, they usually don't charge these foreign transaction fees. And credit unions don't really charge them either. But a lot of your banks, your $0 travel cards, those types of things, they do charge these transaction fees, and they can be 3-5%. So you want to make sure that you have the right card for what you're doing. And then the other thing is you're going to want to be prepared to use your debit card for ATM cash. So when you land in an airport, you're not going to want to pull out your credit card. You really want to use your ATM card, your debit card at an ATM machine, and you're not going to really want to use it in the airport. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But the one thing I've figured out when I went on my first trip is I had my debit card, but I did it my PIN because I never used my debit card.
Yeah.
And so I use just a credit card usually, and so know your PIN ahead of time because when you get over there, it's not the time to try to figure out what your PIN number is.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I learned just recently when I went to Italy is MasterCard and Visa are most a lot widely accepted.
Yeah.
American Express, Discover,
Not so much.
they're not so much, and it's
Yeah.
really just because of the fees that they charge for transactions. A lot of foreign countries don't use them.
Yeah.
So, and then diversify your payment methods. Don't rely on a single card or cash. What my wife and I do is she'll take two cards and I'll take two different cards. And so we're carrying like 3 or 4 different credit cards to where if one of us loses our wallet or she loses her purse, we still have a couple of
Mhm.
cards that aren't tied to each other.
Yeah.
If you and your spouse both take the exact same MasterCard or the same account or the exact same Visa, and one of you loses your wallet, both cards are going to have to be, closed. So, and then you're gonna be stuck without any credit card. So make sure you spread those payments out amongst the two of you that are traveling, and don't rely on just one single card. Have at least 2 different cards from 2 different banks, that type of thing, in case a bank gets hacked, whatever. So, but anyway, that's kind of what we've learned, kind of traveling. Our preparation ahead of time is figuring out how we're going to negotiate all this stuff.
Mhm.
The other thing you want to do it is you want to automate your bills at home.
Mhm.
When you get on, like when you're in Hawaii, did you keep track of days? Did you know exactly what day it was every week? Or
Well, yeah, there for a little bit, we kinda lost. You had to
you
think a bit to see what day it was.
yeah, you would have known if the electric bill was due or the water bill was due, and so just to kind of get rid of all that, just make sure all your bills are on auto pay.
That's how we paid for the trip. We just didn't pay our bills.
There you go. There you go. You got back home and you had no air conditioning, no electricity.
Who
So,
needs that? Nobody.
but you don't want to miss any payments because if you do that, then you screwed up your credit score. So, and when you get overseas, Wi-Fi, internet security, it can be sketchy. So it depends
Yeah.
on what kind of plan you have. It's easy to lose track of days. So, and then really just research ahead. Just that's really what we're trying to get at here. What are some areas you want to research? Preferred currency. I don't know, but there's different countries can have different currency preferences. A lot of countries use their own currency, like all the European Union, and that's where most people travel. If you're part of one of those European Union countries, you use the euro, and they prefer the euro over US dollars. But then you get into some of the high inflation or unstable regions, Latin America, South American countries, some of the African countries. Egypt was one I went to. They actually prefer the US dollar.
Mhm.
And so they have their own currency, their own local currency, but that because it's such high inflation and high exchange, and it's very hard for them sometimes to actually,
Yeah, do the
uh,
calculation.
yeah, I mean, to do the calc and so they
100,000 whatever for
yeah, I mean,
this
we go on tours in
piece of
Egypt.
chocolate.
Yeah, we go on tours in Egypt, and they all wanted their tips and stuff in US dollars,
Yeah.
and so and you go to shops, they all wanted US dollars, and so some of the not as advanced countries, a lot of times just accept US dollars, but you really have to research ahead of time where you're going, and do they like preferred currency? Is it their local currency or is it US dollars? And so that's one thing that you really need to research ahead of time because it can catch you if you get there and you think everybody's going to say US dollars and suddenly you're in Italy and they don't want US dollars. It's hard for them to exchange them. They want the euro.
Yeah.
And so it's a good stable currency. Tip policy. A lot of people don't, I didn't realize this when I started traveling, but other countries tip policy, they don't expect 20%. Yeah, they
Yeah.
don't
A lot of times it's
10%.
already wrapped into the
It
cost.
may be wrapped to the cost at the most. Maybe it's 10%. Being, those restaurants,
Yeah.
if they pay their waiters a wage, I mean, they pay them
Yeah,
a real
they're
wage.
paid well in
Yeah.
those countries.
Over here in America, you mean we don't pay our waiters and waitresses and wait staff. We don't pay them much money, and so they really live off the tips, and so they require a little bit more tip over
Mhm.
here.
That's actually one of the areas that, since we made the sell of the club kind of like a, hey, a way to kind of pay it forward a little bit. We're like, hey, we're gonna tip really well
Yeah,
when we go to restaurants and stuff
yeah,
like that. So that's one of the things we do is tip well now
tip
that
well.
we've been blessed so much.
And then the other thing you really need to know for currency is the exchange rate. I
Mhm.
mean,
The
understand what
FX
we
rate.
went to Europe. I know, a dollar in euro is like a dollar 16 US, and so things look like a deal when you're buying them in euros and you're thinking, oh, it's only $100, but in reality, it's like
Yeah,
$120
you go to
US dollars.
you
So
go to England, it's
yeah,
like a buck 50
yeah,
a pound.
and so it all sounds cheap until they do the conversion, and so
You're like, wait a minute, that's not
yeah,
what I paid.
yeah,
Why
so
does my
know
bank account say
know what a
it's like,
yeah, know what a meal costs, know what it costs in US dollars because eventually you're gonna be selling everything in US dollars off your credit card.
yeah.
So now that you're overseas,
Huh?
you've landed, you're over there, you're traveling,
That bun
having fun.
swiping that card because you don't care.
That's right. Every time you swipe your credit card, you're gonna get asked a question. It's gonna be, do you want local currency or do you want your home country currency? And so the bill comes, it's $50. I put a credit card in. Do you want to pay this in local currency or US dollars? Always pick local currency. Always pick local currency. And the reason for that is if you pick local currency,
Mm,
your bank
yeah,
will decide what the exchange rate
ultimately.
is.
Yep.
If you pick US dollar, that merchant's going to get to decide what the exchange rate is, and they're going to jack it up, and you're going to get screwed over. So always pick local currency. Very important. I mean, that's a huge money saver. Just that one thing. When you get US dollars, when you do land, don't just jump out in the airport ATM machine.
Mhm.
Don't go to the corner where the ATM machine's at, where it says currency exchange. None of that stuff. You wanna find a bank, a real bank overseas, well-lit area with an ATM machine, and that's what you wanna use.
And
If you
sometimes you can use the hotel you're staying
Yeah, the hotels
in
have
the
them
hotel.
sometime, but you wanna use hotels, you wanna use good local big banks, their ATM machines. Stay away from these corner ATM machines. Stay away from airport ATM machines. They have just horrible exchange rates, high fees. And so just one thing to remember there, and you don't have to have money the minute you get off the plane. I mean, you have a credit card. Most people accept credit cards, but
Yeah,
once you get in country, you're gonna need some cash or some local
definitely if you're
currency.
in third
So,
world
yeah.
countries.
But just use the bank ATMs, nice reputable banks, well lit public areas. Okay. Avoid the airports. Get enough money to last. But I ran across one time. I'd gotten to a country and I'd got like $100 of local currency, 100 euros or whatever. I'm thinking, okay, that'll do me good. I mean, after the first day, I was out of 100. Now I had to go back and get more and then more. And so every time you do that, you're getting hit with fees. So you're getting hit with, I mean, $100 that may cost you $108 or $109 instead of, so you just get killed with fees the more you use those machines.
Mhm.
And so get enough money to last. And if you have some money at the end of it, just take it home with you. And that way, the next time you go over to Europe or wherever you're going, you'll have some money to start out with. You want to just you'd be right there. So it's okay to bring 100 or $200 home of whatever currency is
The
you're
funny
using.
looking money,
Yeah. Funny looking money. It is funny. Like it's all different sizes too,
and colors.
different sizes. Like it doesn't fit in the wallet well. I don't know how they carry this stuff around.
They don't.
And so those are kind of the big things now. The last thing I want to kind of touch on is just financial safety and security.
Mhm.
I mean, when you go overseas, no matter where you go, you're going to all the tourist spots, but guess who knows that these are tourist spots? A lot of the local scam artists,
And they know you're American too.
and they
You just
are
look like you're American. You don't think you look like you're American, but you look like you're American.
these pickpocket and scam artists. They're like Harry Potter, man. They can come
Mhm.
up to you, and
Mhm.
they can just tell you how great you are, hand you a bracelet or whatever, and and talk to you for 2 seconds, and then they leave, and you start walking, and you have nothing left, man. Your
Man,
wallet's
man,
gone,
something's
everything's gone, you're
something's
ripped off,
missing.
something's missing. They just do it right in front of you, man. I mean, you don't even know what's
And
happening.
usually it's like you have teams of
Yeah, I mean, you can
one to
be
distract you, the other one to take it off of you.
and Egypt was probably the worst, but I just got back from Italy, and it's pretty bad too. I mean, they come up and they talk to you, they wanna shake your hand. As soon as you shake your hand, they drop something in your hand. Now if you hold it, now they want you to pay you for it. It's just there's just so many scams. It's best just to walk around with your hands in your pocket,
Yeah.
on your wallet,
Yeah.
especially when you get in these big groups and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So you have to be very do not engage with people on the street. There's no great stores and deals and all that are just setting up shop out in a square somewhere. Go to legitimate shops if you're going to do any type of shopping.
Mhm.
Men, carry your wallet in your front pocket, cover with your hand when you're in crowds. I always kind of keep my hand right here in my pocket.
Mhm.
Women, you want a body bag in
Yeah.
front.
In the front.
Yeah, because you'll get engaged with one person while another person's behind you, like Tyler was saying. It's
Mhm.
just a team effort, and they'll be wiping you out while you're sitting there engaged with this one person, and you won't even know it. I mean, you won't even know it.
Yeah.
When using your ATM machines, cover your hand when you're putting your PIN in. People have Zoom cameras, they have all types of stuff that they can see what PIN you're putting in.
Yeah.
We travel with people a lot of times, so while I'm at use ATM, he's turned around, he's watching behind us, make sure nobody's behind us doing anything. I watch out for him when he's on the
Mhm.
thing. If there's anyone suspicious around you, just walk away and don't do the transaction right there. And always, this is another one I thought about. Always have copies of your passport, the front and back of all your credit
Yeah.
cards, somewhere on your phone or in the cloud somewhere, to where if you get your wallet stolen or your purse, your passport, your driver's license, if you have copies of all that, all your credit cards, it's so much easier to get a replacement passport from the embassy.
Mhm.
So just remember, be very aware, do your homework before you travel, know where you're going, what the currency is, what the preference is. Um, think security constantly. Think secure because there's nothing worse than going there and getting your wallet ripped off, and now you have no credit cards, you have no
Yeah.
cash, you have no identification. And so it's great to travel, but man, there's a lot of scam artists out there. There's
Yeah.
a lot of rules, and you can get screwed a lot on transactions and
Mhm.
on exchange rates if you don't do things the right way.
Yeah, and the thing that comes to mind when you bring this up is that you've got a lot of people in their go-go years. You're coming to retirement
Yeah.
and you're getting out there, and you're like, "Hey, I've never been you're going to Egypt and Italy and all these nice places," and you're older, and typically these guys are preying on
Older people.
the elderly,
Yeah.
right? Because maybe they're assuming that, your senses aren't as keen, you're easily manipulated, and, that these are the things that they're gonna be targeting, and I can see why people get out of their go-go years so quickly and are just like, "Hey, I'm just gonna do things locally, like, in, familiar areas," because everything you just went over that's a lot to remember, especially
Yeah.
if you are older, to have to keep all these things in mind,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just it is there are people out there who are really good at this type of a thing
Oh,
as
yeah.
far as getting money off of you. And if you're not vigilant, you could really, really be succumbed.
Yeah, I noticed at the last trip, there was an old couple there, and there was this young guy and a couple of them, and they were sitting there just harping on these people, "Oh, you gotta do you got blah, 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 you gotta do this." And eventually the guy, I think he just wanted to get him off. He gave him 20 bucks or something, and they walked away, but, it's like, "Oh my gosh, you just got ripped off."
Yeah.
But anytime you see, over in Italy, we found in Venice, we found, this one guy putting on some magic show, and all these people are gathered around. They're all betting on the outcomes, blah, blah. Well, people don't realize there's people in the audience who are with the guy,
Mhm.
and it's all crooked. It's all a scam. And so
Yeah.
when you see crowds like that, don't gather around. While you're gathered around, focus on what this guy's doing. You're getting your wallet ripped off out of the back pocket.
Yeah.
So,
I think
be
that
very careful.
the other thing that kind of lends to this, especially if you're an American citizen, is that we tend tend to be a bit secluded when it comes to our exposure to a lot of these types of things because many of the times many of us will spend our entire life just in the US, right? In just
Yeah.
familiar areas. And then we get into retirement or we get a chance to be able to travel. Then we're getting into something we've just never experienced before. And we just automatically assume that everything that we experience in the United States, and we do this as naive Americans, we just assume everybody else operates the way we do.
Yeah.
And then we get over there, and then it's a bit of a shock when stuff doesn't work the way. And so then you're even more susceptible to this kind of scam because you're looking for help. You assume everybody that's willing to help you and that's willing to talk to you and take the time to help you is there for your best interest because that's just kind of how we are. We give everybody sort of the benefit of the doubt. And this is what this can lend to, us being taken advantage of. So just being an American alone
Yeah.
puts you at a disadvantage if you're just not used to traveling frequently. So I think this is really valuable.
Yeah, yeah, the best thing I can compare it to in America is Times Square, New York City. So there's not a lot of places here that you go where you're gonna be scammed out. You're gonna have these street people trying to scam you out. But when you go to Times Square, New York, it's kind of like that.
Yeah.
You have the people walking around trying to sell you stuff and constantly, roses here and bracelets here and beads over there. And when they're always trying to get your money from you. And that's kind of what it's like. But man, when you're especially over like Italy, over in France, man, Egypt was just really bad. I mean, it was just I mean, it's a great place to visit. I'm not saying don't visit it, but man, you really gotta have your head on a swivel because as soon as you get off of a bus or, at a tour stop, you are just bombarded with people, and they are just all with their hand out wanting $1, $2, $5, sell you this, sell you that, and it's just like what we used to call we called it we were over there kind of just walking through the punish line or whatever, but it was just brutal, so you do have to be careful, especially like you say, as you get older, and you're just not as physically and mentally strong to get through some of that
Yeah.
stuff, you know? I mean, you really have to be mentally strong to kind of say no to all these people, that are trying to scam their stuff on you, so
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's it, man. That's I mean, those and my biggest advice is just be prepared, do your research on the country, get your currency down, get your credit card strategy down,
Mhm.
know the tip policy, exchange rates, things like that, and just have a great time, man. It's great to travel, but man, it can turn bad very quickly if you get
Yeah.
your stuff stolen. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Cool.
so with that, you didn't have to worry about that in Hawaii. Hawaii was all U.S. dollar,
That's
man.
my wife made that kind of she made that as one of the things for this special trip. She's like, "Look, I don't wanna go outside the country. I don't wanna deal with the hassle. I want something that's convenient. I don't wanna deal with different currencies, and I want it to be familiar. I want a Walgreens or a CVS
Yeah,
within a short drive." And the one place I think Puerto Rico may be like
yeah,
this, but the one place that really checks all boxes for us, if you've got the financial means, is going to Hawaii.
yeah. Hawaii's like another country, but you're still U.S. So,
Yeah,
I
it is
mean, the environment's like
special.
another country. So,
Yeah, it's and the Polynesian culture and everything, all couple all that together with the beauty and yeah, the environment and the convenience of having the US system in place there. It's just unbelievable.
all right. Well, if you got any value from this, please like, subscribe, and we will see you next time on Triple F. Boom.